Check.
Recording
Night of sin ahead of
going.
me.
Please pay attention when I'm making a transition because I'm doing it for time, not to cut anybody off.
Gotcha.
All right, Josh, can I have you do a quick mic check for me?
Check 1 2. Check. Hello.
Yeah, that's number 1. All right, lovely.
I'm ready.
All right, we're recording. We're cross-streaming. We are ready to go live. I'll count you in. Here we go. In 5, 4, 3.
What's up, you pencil neck geeks? Welcome to the world-famous Comedy Store. This is the Store Horsemen podcast. This is the voice of the Dark Architect speaking. To my left, weirdly enough, the Woken Matt Edgar. What's up, buddy?
He's back. That's right. I missed you guys. I have gone a probably solid month. This is the longest I've gone without talking to you guys about wrestling, even though me and Chris have secret conversations about wrestling throughout the week.
Well, we're all back because we weren't here last week. But
There's that.
So, in the spirit of that, what's up, Golden Pony? Welcome back.
Hey, good to be here. Fun stuff happening. Excited to chat. Let's do it.
To your left, the evil genius Eddie Firth. What's up, baby?
How's it going, man? This is a good week for wrestling.
It was. There's
Yeah.
a lot to say. A lot to say.
And let's get started.
And-
Let's talk about it.
And who will be talking about it badly? The jabroni Josh Martin. What's up, bud?
I'm not talking today.
The ratings
So,
just go through the roof.
my
Sorry,
gift to
popular
you
episode yet.
losers.
Right on. And congratulations to Josh Martin, who is the new champion of predictions once again.
Only because I didn't get my predictions in. I lost my belt in absentia.
It happens, man.
I got every pick correct.
Not every pick. I think you picked wrong in the cruiserweight or something like that.
But that was pre-show. We never do
Eh.
pre-show.
Well, never mind. Anyways, so, yeah, a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff going on the interwebs fucking the last few days. Anyone who thought that this AEW, WWE thing, a lot of people love to say that when this whole thing got started, like, it's not really competition, it's not a war, it's not a difference of opinion. It 100% is. And now it's going so deep that, like, the wrestlers are getting involved. What started as, like, a little beef between Seth Rollins and Will Ospreay has ballooned into, like, Kenny Omega taking shots at WWE today. Jericho's got in the mix. It's a lot of shit going on. You been paying attention to this Will Ospreay, Seth Rollins thing?
I've been watching it.
Yeah.
Jericho seemed to walk the line. What did Kenny Omega say?
Well, Kenny Omega bashed WWE because they announced today that they'll be airing the 10th anniversary of Evolve, which is a British wrestling promotion that they have a relationship with. They'll be airing that on the WWE network at the exact same time as AEW's Fight for the Fallen.
Sure.
And Omega felt like, dude, like, all right, what he said was bad enough that you take blood money to run shows to make some money in Saudi Arabia, but now you're going to compete with a show that's a charity show for victims of gun violence.
That's fine.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
a little bit of a reach there.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
I feel like that is a very tenuous connection.
Yeah.
You're going
Like,
to compete with your
especially-
competition while they do a charity show.
Like Kenny Omega and AEW definitely
Yeah.
took shots first to
You
engage.
blew up the throne.
And now
Yeah.
and now WWE says, all right, we'll start, and they're like, oh, but you can't run a show the day where.
Oh, no, it goes to a greater thing. What are your thoughts, Matt?
I mean, right now it's like middle school.
Yeah.
There's not, shots fired, I guess, but there's still, it's just it's just drama.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know, man. I mean, did the WWE even know? It's
AEW announced the date in March, and then WWE
so then they did.
decided
that's
in
kind
May.
of a dick move, but
No, it's not. It's competition.
Yeah, did you
What
want
are we
this-
talking about? I was in Chicago last week. Went to Pro Wrestling Tees headquarters.
Yeah.
Got myself what shirt did I get? Was I so excited to get Monday Night Wars?
Yeah.
Because that's what's fun. You go up against each other. Honestly, in my opinion, I'm surprised it's some 10-year English thing that I've never heard of, and they're not doing a fucking whatever the fuck they want. Some
like a
super
fake
show, a fucking
Starcade thing.
yeah.
But they're putting WWE talent on this Evolve show.
Then this is good.
which is
This is
pretty
the
great.
exact thing that we asked for, that we thought would change everything. And I think that it's a healthy competition, and that ultimately, even with all of this sort of mock animosity, I still think everyone is still kind of in on it together in that vein. Like,
now you sound like Vince Russo. Have you heard his
no
theory?
Well, then I retract.
Vince Russo is making the rounds in wrestling media, asserting that this is all a work, that WWE and AEW are completely in bed together, that Vince and Tony Khan have done this.
Triple H gave Cody the throne. Yeah, I just thought maybe it'd be cool if you like blow it up
Cody's
the show.
gonna ride out on
Basically,
that
to
motorbike.
pop buzz in the industry
It's just a game.
that the boys aren't in on it. You know, the executive vice presidents aren't in on it. It's just a Tony Khan, Vince McMahon thing. A lot like back in the day, which everyone thought wasn't true at the time, but was true between Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon during the ECW years. He was bankrolling ECW for many, many years. But that was also in order to sort of undercut WCW, but there isn't anything to undercut now. So, I don't know. It's a little far-fetched.
And you also have shareholders in WWE where
Yeah.
you have to explain what money is being spent on what.
On the
you know?
XFL, damn it!
I think that I would not go to. I don't think that this is something where Vince is bankrolling or a part of it, but I do think that it's just like comedians taking shots at other comedians, where ultimately, you know, when we're not on stage, like, we're winking at each other, right? Like if we're roasting each other and we take shots at each other on stage, we don't mean it. We're doing it as part of the performance, and sometimes feelings can get ruffled, but at the end of the day, like, we get it. Like, it's part of the show for everyone, and maybe there is some animosity of like, yeah, really, you're gonna run that day of all days, but AEW had to expect it, and if I'm in AEW, the fact that they're running a show on the same day is actually a good sign. Ultimately, it means that they recognize and genuinely see them as some sort of competitive market where they have to confront it. It's a good thing across the board.
Totally. And I think that's definitely what it is with the Ospreay Seth Rollins thing. Like they're Ospreay is in New Japan, he isn't in AEW, but
You know, it would have been funny if, like, okay, the Fallen show's on this date, whenever. What if they were like, all right, new date for WrestleMania?
They're talking about doing 2 WrestleManias. But
But what Seth Rollins said wasn't wrong.
well,
He said, I wrestle way more in a year than you
Yeah,
ever had.
yeah. Well,
That's what Ospreay said, right? Or
No,
Rollins said
Well,
it.
what it started was Rollins had said something about, you know, people complaining about the WWE, but at the end of the day, he's the best wrestler in the world. Someone prove him wrong, and Will Ospreay replied, "Well, I'm alive." You know what I mean? And then that went back and forth of, I make more money than you, I wrestle more than you. Then Ospreay said, nope, facts, I've wrestled more matches than Seth Rollins in 2019. And then Baron Corbin chimed in and said, well, I wrestled more matches than you. And then Ospreay said, no wonder Raw sucks. And so it's just like this whole, like Matt said, this middle school thing happening between these guys who aren't really fighting.
If I were Will Ospreay, I would be embarrassed that I wrestled more than Seth Rollins and made a fraction of it. Like, that's not it. It really isn't a fair comparison if you're getting paid that much more.
That's the guy that does open mics saying he does more shows than paid regular.
Counting your open mics.
Yeah.
The best comment was when he said, oh, I'm sorry, little guy. We already have a better version of you here. And he just won his first U.S. title tonight.
I mean,
Talking about Ricochet.
of course.
And they basically are the same wrestler. Ricochet and Will Ospreay's
absolutely.
pretty much the same guy.
But
When they-
Ricochet's better because he's bald. So
There you go.
And he's black.
So, but it's just funny, man, because it's like, what I've hinted at, the greater thing that I think is interesting is, like, you know, look, we give WWE a lot of shit on this show, and people in general give WWE a lot of shit. I mean, look, half the goddamn stadium was full at Stomping Grounds, for God's sakes. But it's just hilarious how, you know, people are sort of criticizing Seth Rollins and saying he's being a dick and this, that, and the other, and yet it's like, anything WWE does to defend themselves or try to, you know, set themselves apart or whatever, people shit all over. But it's like AEW, anything that they do, they're praised immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying.
And
I've
that's-
been saying this shit the whole time.
But that's just anytime you have the big guy,
Yeah.
you're always going to hate the guy who owns a bunch of the shit.
The underdog.
You know?
I've
Yeah.
never
You always
been
go
that
for the
hip of
underdog.
a guy. You know, I've always been cool, but
Yeah.
I've never been hip.
Sure.
And that's been a lot of the situation with this AEW thing. You guys are hip. Josh is extremely hip. Chris, you're very hip, right? Matt, you're pretty
Chris
hip.
Is, Chris is hip hop.
And in that order becomes AEW sort of right, like super fandom, and that's what it is. It's the new cool thing, right?
Sure.
And it's hard to back, the super corporate business of WWE, but
that's the funny thing about it. It's like AEW is corporate,
right?
You know what I mean? Like we saw John Moxley, who is now the whole thing about AEW is like, oh, it's about freedom and it's artistic and you can do what you want. And it's like, okay, so Moxley went and wrestled in New Japan. He's the United States champion for New Japan. And there he entered himself into the G1 Climax tournament, which starts in Dallas. AEW said, no, you can't wrestle in North America for anyone else but us. So it's like, if WWE pulls that move, they're assholes. Right. AEW does it, it's like, well, they got to protect their business. So it's like, well, what the fuck do you think WWE does on a regular basis?
And at the end of the day, we want both companies to succeed. We want both to do well because we love it. We enjoy wrestling so much that we would love to have amazing matches to watch in both companies.
Dude, if I'm WWE, I try to strike a deal with New Japan. They have a history of working together in the past.
A card between the two?
A long past ago, but it's like, okay, because, apparently there's animosity between AEW and New Japan because obviously the elite left.
They took all the talent from
and
New Japan.
This whole thing. So it's like, if I'm Vince McMahon, it's like, well, shit. You know what I mean? If like he said, like he was backing ECW back in the day, why not cut a little deal with New Japan? You see fucking Bullet Club proper show up on Monday Night Raw.
Or just send
you know what I mean?
Send over Ricochet and Finn Balor to defend their belts in Japan against whoever they want.
I mean, they're doing WWE Tokyo this week. You know what I mean? It's like, it would be such a sign of goodwill is you have Nakamura show up at the G1. You know what I mean?
Or hell, we haven't seen Joe in New Japan.
No.
Right? Imagine just sending Joe over there for a spot show for them somewhere. Entering, it'd be...
What about Rusev?
Amazing.
Rusev might be coming sooner than you think. Rusev hasn't been on television in 2 months? Something like that.
He was asked for a break.
Yeah, he asked for some time off. He did show up at Super Showdown in the 50-man Battle Royal, but according to Dave Meltzer, his contract is up sooner than later, and it might be curtains for him showing up in WWE at all for the rest of the year.
Because now, apparently, WWE is making people sign a 5-year deal now.
Right.
To keep them away from AEW longer.
And to show the morale in that locker room, the heavy hitters that they've signed the 5-year contracts, Mike and Maria Kanellis, Jinder Mahal.
And they suspect that Anderson and Gallows re-sign.
Yeah.
And that's why they're on TV.
That's
now.
why they're getting these pushes. But they're doing the same thing with the Revival, and Revival haven't resigned.
Their gear looked nice. Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah.
Had some new tights on.
But can you
Monday
imagine
night.
a working relationship with New Japan and a John Cena versus an Okada
match? But then also
would be a crazy fucking.
Also, what a wonderful way to sort of poke at John Moxley too, who's a champion in New Japan.
Yeah.
It's like now you have to sort of work for us, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's fucking hilarious. But the G1 Climax starts soon. Some good names in there. Zack Sabre Jr.'s in there.
I love that guy.
Jeff Cobb.
I still think that would be Tony's favorite wrestler if he watched him.
Nick Sabre Jr.?
Zack Sabre Jr. for sure.
Zach.
Kota Ibushi, Okada, Will Ospreay.
Can I be
Why do
honest?
we always do that with Tony, though? We always go, oh, Tony would love this guy.
Because Tony's never seen him.
I think
And
about
then
it like that.
and then we
While he's not hip, he is cool.
And we never
I love
never seen the matches of these guys.
Yeah, I have. I like what's his name? The 3-letter name.
Zack Sabre
MVP.
Jr.?
MJ now.
MJF.
What's that?
MJF.
Which guy? From AEW or from New Japan?
What's MJF stand for?
Maxwell.
Jacob Friedman.
Yes,
Jacob Friedman.
Him.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's my guy.
The Miz.
He's
He's
basically like the Miz.
He's cool.
He's
I shouldn't call him
unbelievable.
Miz Light. He's good.
So there's a lot. Yeah, the
He's
G1's
amazing,
looking good, man. John Moxley's in there. Fucking Jay
Is he
White.
actually in there, or
Yeah, he's in. He's in the B block.
I thought he couldn't wrestle.
He could wrestle in the United States. He can't wrestle night one in Dallas.
Oh, okay, so he
can do it in Japan. So
Man, that John Moxley's just showing up everywhere. Huh?
all over the place,
Can I
man.
can I be
Goodness.
honest? I definitely confuse Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay all the time. They're the same wrestler in my head. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you confuse
Both
two
British
people.
dudes, but
Yeah.
totally different styles.
But I get them mixed up.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
do.
They kind of
I'm
look
sorry,
alike.
white guys.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm
thought
sorry,
Edge and
Innocuous.
Christian were the same guy.
Yeah, right. You just sometimes.
But did you guys watch Stomping Ground?
I did I watched it in Pete. Like I didn't sit down and just watch it straight through, but I got through the whole thing over time. I might have skipped a few matches. That my favorite match that I did watch all the way through was New Day and God, who did they? Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Like what an incredible tag team match. Like a la Heart Foundation and Demolition or LOD. Like real good old school tag team match.
Me and Matt's secret conversation. That was kind of the point of it. The tag division, strangely, overnight became the best part of WWE.
Without you don't even if you don't you wouldn't even think about it. It's looking back. You go, wow, that has been the shit lately.
Right.
Yeah.
If we look at Raw, it's Gallows and Anderson, the Viking Raiders, not New Day, the Revival,
The Usos.
and
or
I
wherever
said
the
Usos
hell they
already,
are.
right?
Yeah.
Usos, Revival, Gallows and Anderson, Viking Raiders. That's 4 great teams.
Yeah.
Then you go to SmackDown, it's Sami Zayn and KO, The New Day, Bryan and Rowan, and Heavy Machinery, who did a great match against Daniel Bryan and
Heavy
Rowan.
Machinery, man.
They can go.
And I like this week where they did 4 and 4, like 2 tag teams together, and it's great.
And they did it on Raw and SmackDown.
And you get screen time for a lot more wrestlers in a single match.
Well, the only reason we got more screen time this week is because a bunch of the Raw wrestlers were in Japan, and so they couldn't do the wild card rule. They shit on SmackDown so much it baffles me. Like what's got to happen in October for them to make people care? Because literally at the beginning of the show, the announcers are like, well, you're not going to see too many Raw superstars on the show tonight because a bunch of them are overseas. Who cares if it's a wild card rule thing? Like you're making it seem like, hey, we're sorry that you're not going to see fucking Roman Reigns or whatever the fuck.
But also, Roman showed up on Monday night, but not on Tuesday night, right?
Correct.
He wasn't on. But that's technically
But
his
he's technically a SmackDown superstar.
Hey, I'm not going to complain because that segment was awesome. Not going to complain in the slightest. That is the exact right
Awesome,
segment.
you say.
Can you tell that is it just me or I like the New Day more now? Where Kofi's not really, I mean, not that he's not a part of it, but he's not part of the tag team equation of it.
Well, we've been saying it for years. Like, let one of them be the singles wrestler.
But we all of us thought it was going to be Big E.
Right,
being that guy.
Totally.
Away from
here's
the New
why.
Day.
Here's why they're so great. Is Xavier Woods is getting a chance to shine in a way he hasn't been, and he's doing the work that we all knew he could.
And by the way, of all the wrestlers you could think of in the current roster, who's improved more than Xavier Woods?
Yeah.
Xavier Woods was not even on the radar.
He was just a trombone player, basically.
But
He's the mouthpiece.
but he's got cool, unique moves.
He's friends with Kenny Omega. He's not going to embarrass himself.
The spin-
in the
well,
He's
ring.
nowhere near Omega.
Of course
but,
not,
But
but-
he
the
has
discus forearm.
Yeah, the sit up Shining Wizard.
Yep.
It's like been my favorite move lately, where the opponent is sitting up on his ass and then catches the knee.
Dude, the guy
I
can
cannot wait for that heel turn. I cannot
No,
wait
I
for it.
can't. I don't want it. I don't want it to ever happen.
You know why though? Because we don't want it. But look at him. He's going to do such a good job with it.
And
as tough
I
as
don't
it's
know,
going
man.
to
I
be, he's
think-
going to do such a good job with it.
I don't think so.
And it's also,
I think Big E's a better heel.
but also, it's going to mean something because
Probably.
this is the only team other than the Usos that have longevity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I mean, they break up tag teams all the time. Like KO and Sammy are back together. KO walked out on him at the end of the match on SmackDown already. It's like, already we're gonna do this break them up thing. Like, don't. It's too early.
The reason I say that about Kofi not being the heel is I think he's
Xavier.
too. Or, I'm sorry, Xavier. I think he's too invested in other things that make him like a baby, like the video game channel thing.
Yeah.
I can't take that guy. He's this dick that stabbed his friends in the back.
Yeah.
And then you see him playing video games with everybody.
But I think Jericho makes it work. He's a super heel, and he still does the talk as Jericho, and he's all buddy with everybody on that.
you could also do segment.
But they're but Xavier's the same guy on his show that he is in WWE.
Sure.
Jericho is such a showman that you accept him being this interviewer. Like,
just have Xavier on his video game show be the guy to unplug his friend's cable.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then he can control.
I just think
that would be a funny way that the heel turn started. It was a video game dispute.
See, but I think the excitement for me in considering Xavier Woods turning is just that we know how smart he is. We know how hard he works. We know how much he gets it. In ring, he's improved incredibly. The storyline, and if you watch the last couple matches, like that match at Stomping Ground was incredible because it started where it literally looked like he was going to lose in 30 seconds, and they just buried him early and then stayed on him, and then it looked like they came back and still beat him in the end. And it's that kind of stuff where. And all those little subtle things that it looks like they're putting in place where he's supporting Kofi, but it always feels like he's being pushed to the side. Like I just think there's a really interesting, almost Rockers-like turn where he's going to be like, I want to get out of your shadow. Why am I in the background? Like, I was like, fuck this. I'm the doctor.
But think about of those. So obviously Kofi's the biggest star in the New Day. Okay. Now, who do you think out of those two left are the breakout stars? I'd say Big E. I'd say make Big E the dramatic.
It's a no-brainer. It's definitely Big E
because he's also the big one.
But it could be either one of them. But we know damn well WWE is gonna push Big E.
He already dabbled in it when he was Big E Langston.
Yeah,
I mean, we've
NXT
already seen
World
that
Champion.
For my money, I'd be more interested to see Woods turn on them and first start against Big E and then lead to Kofi or vice versa.
I would rather just Kofi turn heel.
On both of them.
Two.
Yeah.
I could see that too.
I don't need you
I
guys.
could do it
But
without
look,
you.
The tag team stuff was the most interesting stuff on the pay-per-view, I would say, except for Ricochet Samoa Joe was a great match.
Oh, that was my favorite match.
Cruiserweight match was unbelievable. If you watched it,
I didn't watch it.
Super innovative stuff going on. Love Drew Gulak's new
thought
character.
that the Joe Ricochet match was a cruiserweight with a heavyweight in it. It was like a cruiserweight match with a heavyweight in it.
That was the point. Two guys who can go with speed.
Fucking go. And God, Ricochet.
I didn't watch it, but I heard it's fucking amazing.
So
I caught parts
that
of
impact
that. I need to watch the
when
whole
he
thing.
hit the what's it called, the 640.
Oh, and
Yeah.
he bounced off of Joe
Bounce,
to standing.
Oh God,
Dude.
he does that, man. He sells great.
But the rest of that card, that every main event match was just like bad.
Here's the thing. I enjoyed I enjoyed a majority of the cage match. There were a few slow spots for me.
I enjoyed the
The
very
ending.
end. Yeah, the
But I
ending
thought
was
there
good.
was
Might be one of, and we've had some great finishes and cages. That was outside the box.
What happened?
So Ziggler is basically crawling. Kofi's down. Ziggler's about to make his way out of the door. In a last ditch effort, Kofi raises up, runs, and literally does a leap of faith over Ziggler out of the door onto the floor. It was like this super athletic move, and it's like that's the sort of shit you should be doing with Kofi all the time.
Right. Yeah.
The opposite of his Royal Rumble spot, essentially.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's like, wait, I know how to undo this.
Right.
But
So I like
the
that.
first half of that match was very well paced in the concept because sometimes cage matches don't do this.
Yeah.
But I always say this
They're
is
clunky.
it's Brett and Owen from SummerSlam '94 because that entire match was Owen trying to escape at all times.
Yeah.
And Dolph and Kofi set the tone early of like, no, we're trying to get out of this cage. We're trying to win this match. And it slowed at a point, but the first half of it, the first 10 minutes was just them going back and forth, trying to get out, trying to get over on each other. Like
Technically,
a lot
I think
of
it was a good
striking,
match.
kicks and
Problem is Dolph's equity in WWE don't exist no more. Like he's not going to win. Like he's there purely because Daniel Bryan got hurt, and so they couldn't continue the feud. And then KO wouldn't go to Saudi Arabia, so we need somebody, you know what I mean, who's going to get a good match out of Kofi. Dolph, come back from your comedy tour and let's do this thing.
I mean, the next challenger poses a real threat, though. As weird as it is to get in the way that they got into it, you can't say you're not excited for the match that's coming and the real threat that Samoa Joe poses to Kofi. Because that's when you could see really happening where we'd also hate it but be like, all right, okay.
Joe loses too much, man.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I
Loses
don't
too
think
much,
he could lose this. I think they gotta give him the rub.
It's not who's going to beat Kofi.
Yeah, I don't think it's
I don't
gonna be
think so
Samoa
But
Joe.
either.
you
but I
see
just
that
don't
argument?
think-
That argument is what makes it interesting right now. Is you like right now you're like he has to like it's a must win for him, and that wrestler with that kind of pressure on him becomes a dangerous threat in the story.
He's always the most. That's what they always build him up as. Like Joe's the most dangerous person. Then it's like Then they roll him up, and then he gets that surprised, oh, I'm so pissed face. They just done it so many times.
Yeah.
I pitched to Matt what they should do is that Joe, his angle should be, fine. If I can't have any titles and I can't keep any titles, nobody can. And literally attack every champion in WWE and put them to sleep. I mean, show up on NXT on Wednesday and fucking put Adam Cole to sleep, put the tag teams
Tap
if you
out
have
Bayley.
gold, you have a fucking
Tap out Becky Lynch. She's just like, I'm done.
100% I would.
Every one of you.
100% I would. You make Joe a fucking out
One
of
of the
control.
refs mess up, he taps them.
Make him out of
A little
control.
sensitive
Like
to
when
that.
Taz couldn't deal with the fact that he just couldn't beat Shane Douglas for the world title, so he just decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'm the world champion and made his own belt and started putting everyone to sleep. It's like that's what they should do with Joe.
I would also like to see Samoa Joe join maybe like Shane McMahon and Drew
Yeah.
and become part of the corporation.
The Shane McMahon mid-card vortex
Yeah.
that they call it on what culture?
You call it mid-card. He is literally in every main event
Shane
program.
McMahon,
He's in every
well,
program.
Yeah, they call him the Omni Shane. He's just like he's on every show. He's the main. He's
the only authority figure they reference anymore. It's
it's
odd,
crazy.
They just kind of made it happen.
It's utterly crazy. And
But God, that segment. I know we haven't talked
rather
about
than
God, that
let's get right
segment.
into it then. Rather than and this is the WWE.
You saw this, right?
No, I haven't seen anything
Every
at
time
all.
there's something
swamped.
that the fans seem to hate about the main event in recent years in WWE. Rather than saying, okay, let's go in a different direction, they double down. And it's like they've been doing it with Baron Corbin for how many months now?
Yeah.
They did it with Roman. That's
And they
what
did it
do.
with Roman. They did it with Cena.
It worked
did it
out
with
with
Jinder
Cena,
Mahal.
but yeah.
But even towards the end of Cena, they're booing the shit out of him. It's just like, stop doubling down. Yeah. So, in this never-ending Roman Reigns, Shane McMahon thing, I don't even know who Shane's fully feuding with anymore. It's Roman. It's fucking The Miz. It's everybody.
Possibly Kofi.
Possibly Kofi. He sort of has the Revival under his employ. He sort of has Elias. He sort of has McIntyre. So they book this.
Wait. Just before you didn't like this.
Well, look.
What's going on, guys?
I'm
It's been a
getting
3-minute
here.
setup.
I'm trying
and
to
you
get
guys
there.
gasping
I'm
for
trying
air.
to get
Tell me
there.
what happened.
Because we know
I wanna
get
see what
there.
you
we got to
say.
build you up, Tony, because we know you're going to bust a nut to
It's
this.
built up.
All right.
Thank you, Jerry.
Hold your phone.
You're nerding out
Jerry
so
Seinfeld.
hard right
You
now.
also
Let's get
can't
to the
build.
thing.
You also cannot build a pile of shit
Very
very high.
That's true enough. So they do the 2 out of 3 falls match, which is hilarious that they're doing these. We'll tell you why in a second, Tony. But it's Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre in a 2-on-1 versus Roman Reigns. 2 out of 3 falls. They shit all over the second fall by just attacking the shit out of Roman. They're going at it. They hit him with the coast to coast, a bunch of Claymore kicks. They're about to pin him to win the match.
No.
Lights go out.
Shane McMahon sets up for the coast to coast.
Right.
Roman's in the corner. They've Claymored him. He's dead.
Yeah.
Shane's on the top rope.
Yeah.
He gets started. The gong hits.
The Undertaker's gong?
And everyone's like, get the fuck out of here. The
Lights
lights
go
go out.
Wow.
They come back up. Taker is standing in the way of Roman. Shane comes jumping off the top rope. Undertaker catches him with the choke slam. Up higher than anyone has gone in a long time.
First,
Boom,
choke
choke
real
slam.
choke slam in a while.
First real one in a long
These
time.
idiots don't know when to jump.
Undertaker gets Drew McIntyre in the corner. Fists of Fury. Boom, boom, boom. Brings him out. Tosses him out. Clotheslines Shane over the top. Stands tall. Goes down. Poses. End of the show.
What's
And
this,
so it's
Monday
now-
Night Raw?
This was
Yes.
Monday Night Raw.
Jesus Christ.
So at
Hundreds
Extreme
of
Rules,
seats open.
it's Roman
Hundreds of
Reigns and
seats.
Undertaker against Shane McMahon and Drew
Well, that's
McIntyre.
how you start filling Raw seats, by the way.
Well, of
The
course.
the best. This is the best. This is the segment.
This
You're
is-
using
We-
Undertaker
we
in the
talk-
best way.
We
Yeah.
talked 2 weeks ago.
Shows up, surprises everyone, is in the program you'd want, so that it's not bad. This is the way.
2 weeks ago, we said we don't want to see Undertaker
100%.
ever again.
You guys said that. I did not say that.
This
that
is-
would be that's
that
moron talk.
Goldberg Undertaker match was
Dreadful.
the biggest
Because
pile
you
of
can't
shit
put
ever.
the Undertaker in
Goldberg.
with somebody who can't work like
So you're
Goldberg.
gonna put-
You need bump.
so
you
you're gonna
need
put-
Drew McIntyre
So you're gonna
and
put
Roman
them
Reigns
with
to bump
Roman
around.
Reigns, who can't work,
One at a time, guys.
Shane McMahon, who can't work, and Drew. I don't trust Drew to carry a match.
Look,
all
I'll
the
tell
way.
you right now. your skewed view of those competitors. First of all, Roman can go, and Undertaker and Roman aren't going to go against each other. That's an athlete who can move.
You say,
but he's not a great wrestler.
I don't think Drew can carry a full match.
Undertaker was never a great wrestler either. We're talking about big storytellers.
But Undertaker could work. Undertaker could work though.
Yeah.
And Roman is going to get there. Drew is really good.
And I refuse to acknowledge that Undertaker Goldberg 100-degree weather after traveling. I don't know.
With a concussion.
I don't know how many 16-hour flights you guys have had.
The gong just hit here in the studio.
But that stuff's not easy for either one of those guys. So I
He's
take
in a
that off.
tag match.
Especially when you're almost 70 years old.
Yeah.
Here's the deal.
This is amazing. The idea that he showed up on Raw out of nowhere.
Yeah.
For what reason?
Because
Doesn't
it's
matter.
pro wrestling and he's the Undertaker.
You didn't get excited when you heard the gong?
When it happened, it was like, oh, of course. It just, you know
do
what
you
it
mean, of
was?
course?
It was like because
Kenny Omega didn't show up, so Chris
no,
wasn't
no,
happy.
it was like an ex-girlfriend throwing a Hail Mary. It's just like, oh god, this reeks of desperation. Now
And
we gotta
how
pull the
good is
Undertaker out here.
How good is that blowjob going to be when she shows up at the
what's
door?
wrong with that?
I feel like Undertaker's about to go through another divorce.
Yeah.
And that's why he's working to make money.
Yeah, it's like
he's
it's
not. He's
Oh,
rich as hell. He's there to help the product. He's
We
there
all
to
say-
help the Monday Night Raw.
I totally get
the
it.
attendance, all the stuff that we've been we've been bringing up with the blibbity blop, and that's exactly what they have to fucking do. Is they have to use their stars
Right.
on Monday Night Raw, not on the Saudi show, not on 2 pay-per-views a year. They have to make Raw something that you don't want to miss.
But
I think the bigger thing they could do is use those older stars, not in the ring, but in creative and creating matches that make sense.
Perhaps.
Like something like NXT does.
I agree, but the money in the Undertaker is not sitting backstage telling Drew McIntyre how to throw a claymore. The money is putting the Undertaker
No,
in the ring.
I'm not saying I'm not
And
taking Undertaker
the hot
specifically,
tag,
but
the hot tag at Extreme Rules when Undertaker comes in is going to be one of the best things we see in wrestling in
until
the last couple months.
Another botch happens, and then everyone's like, "Oh God, why is he still going?" It's like
Those-
watching old basketball players still trying to. It's like watching Vince Carter trying to dunk. It's just like it's over.
Do
It's
you ever-
over.
do you ever-
It's
do you
over.
ever watch-
But it's also slightly different because the Undertaker is genuinely a written character, while
I
Vince
agree,
Carter
but he's
is
still
is-
gotta
is an
wrestle.
athlete.
You still got to wrestle.
And,
You
and I
just
think
said
they're
that
going to
the best-
protect him in a tag team match with people who can move and work. I think this
Sure.
is the best. That's the other thing is this is the best case scenario
It's
of how
a
to use him.
Band-Aid, Eddie.
It's a what?
Band-Aid.
I mean, everyone knows
disagree.
that
It's a
the
massive
Undertaker's
wound.
not going
I
to wrestle a
disagree.
25-minute
Of
main
course.
event match.
That's what I'm
We
saying.
don't
I
think
disagree.
that ever.
The WWE is a open bleeding wound.
That's hilarious.
It's not-
I can't believe you
it's
keep
not-
doing this every
Tony.
week.
Tony, it's
It's-
not. The WWE's healthy. It's good. It's all good.
Oh my God.
No,
I think
that's
it's
all I
somewhere
want you
in
to say.
that's
I want you to say
Yeah,
the
it's
sentence.
great. Is it
WWE
doing it-
is doing great right now. It's awesome.
It's doing
Everything's
good. It's not doing as great as it was 2 years
And you
ago
know,
with a bunch of healthy stars.
I mean, think of it like this. Usually when an Undertaker shows up, that means the thing is dead.
right. Exactly.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
He shows up every WrestleMania.
No,
so
you
how is
missed
it
A
dead?
Undertaker
Yeah, Undertaker dead
job.
joke.
but
All right.
do you see?
I like the metaphor. It was a
guess.
funny.
do you see a
metaphor.
flaw that you have to put
It's
the
not meant to be
Undertaker
funny.
Undertaker in a match with Roman Reigns, the guy you've been trying to push forever,
Yes.
and Drew McIntyre, a guy with a look that Vince loves?
Yes. Apparently,
It's weird
is-
that you
look, this
have
is-
to.
this is one of the
put
moments I'm
Undertaker
gonna
to
tap
make
out.
something happen.
Because it's like Brock Lesnar showing up. Like if you're not excited to see the Undertaker unannounced on Monday Night Raw in a program where we can all admit, like it's not like he's invading a spot that
Yeah.
we wanted reserved for somebody else.
Listen,
This is a
I
special
hear you,
attraction
man.
where he comes in. He's going to stand next to Roman Reigns. We know they're going over. It
Okay,
doesn't
but
matter.
there's a
like,
difference, right? There's a difference between Dave Chappelle doing a new special and going to see Tim Allen at the Laugh Factory. Like they're both legends, but one can go, the other can't.
Oh
you know what I'm saying?
God. You just
Undertaker
compared
can't
the
go.
Undertaker to Tim
He
Allen.
can't go anymore, Tony.
What are you talking about?
He can't go
Okay,
anymore.
Chris. Did everyone not just say it was his best choke slam in years?
he looked good.
So-
What do you mean by
His
go?
best choke slam?
'Cause
that's not a match,
You're
Tony.
talking about Goldberg in Saudi Arabia, and you're
I'm not
honing
talking
in
about
on that.
I'm not talking
So
about
what
that.
are you talking about?
For Undertaker to have even a decent match, he has to have somebody who is carrying it completely. There's no point
I disagree
in having
with
him
completely.
around. Yes,
You
completely.
just need
Yes,
do
completely.
Need, you do need somebody on the other side who's going to move. Not if
For
we
sure.
just said he knows how to work. So if he can call the match and the other guy can
Right,
bump,
but if
we're
your
good
body
to go.
don't respond no more, it is what it is, dude.
On
he
that
can't
front,
run. He
I
can't
fully,
move like
on
that
that
anymore.
front, I fully believe the idea of this tag team match will absolutely hide the things he can't do and accentuate the
Absolutely,
things
because
he
he can't go.
But that's
And what's
so
going to happen
perfect.
after that?
So you'd rather have no
It's a-
Undertaker than Undertaker in a tag match?
At this point, yeah, dude.
See, I disagree.
Because
That's
it's-
why I'm tapping out because I'm
Right.
like, no, I would rather.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But
I'm
you
so
keep-
excited to see this.
you guys
match.
keep
This is the best
arguing this thing like, well, we're gonna get Undertaker, guys. It's like, yeah, but how long? A pay-per-view?
No,
It's
yes.
a Band-Aid. It's a
What do you
Band-Aid.
mean What? Hold on a second. As a pro wrestling viewer,
Yes.
I'm not sitting here looking for some overall fix and Band-Aid to.
That's
I'm
what
like,
everyone's been complaining about.
If-
They don't have any long-term story it's storytelling. They keep doing
when
these
you say
things that they
everyone,
hope
you
is going to...
you know it's not me. I'm literally
Right,
sitting
but
here
you-
saying like
okay,
this is an exciting
again,
match. I'm gonna have fun
you guys
watching
are seriously arguing that creative in WWE is great. They're telling good stories. This isn't a desperate move. If that's what you feel like, then there's no point in arguing. There's no point.
But hold on a second. If your argument is that they're struggling and this is an attempt to change things, that's what I'm
It's
also
not
like.
an attempt
no.
to change things.
What
It's
it
doing
is-
exactly what they always do. Oh, fuck. We're in a hole. What can we do? Not change the product, fix the product. Let's
How would
just
you
try to
fix
bring
it?
some names in
How
here.
would you
Let's
fix-
bring Shawn Michaels
Yeah,
back. Let's
this-
bring
I
Undertaker
think-
back. Let's Goldberg. Somebody help us. Fix the fucking product.
Yeah, I
Tell
think-
better stories.
I think-
Instead of using
stop
these
de-pushing the people you have. Who
established
can
stars,
go?
You're complaining that they use
Tony,
their
you of
stars.
all people are supporting push established stars, except for younger people. I hear you complain about here at the comedy store all the time.
But hold on a second. On the other side, it is not in lieu
What?
of
This
like
is pro
the
wrestling.
Undertaker is going to bring more eyes.
It's the
to-
same idea.
The Undertaker
not.
is going to bring more eyes to that show to see their younger guys. He is in a match which will help. Are you going to tell me that this doesn't help Drew McIntyre? He's about to step into the ring with a legitimate legend that is going to help him. It helps Roman.
This is the
Fuck
sales pitch
Shane,
they
whatever.
gave CM Punk to like, well, you're going to get Triple H at WrestleMania. You don't
And
have to be in the main
honestly-
event.
Honestly,
and he's like, fuck you.
Honestly, CM Punk may not have been able to see the forest for the trees of the idea that that match with Triple H actually was a decent
I
idea.
think what Chris is trying to say is instead of using the talent you have and actually have legit stories to sell tickets to Extreme Rules, they're depending only on the Undertaker to sell tickets for
But
Extreme
they're doing
Rules.
that with everything else,
But
right?
that's a problem when you can't sell tickets using the stories.
Can't sell
You have to
tickets.
use a
But
big
hold on
attraction.
a sec. We
like
just said-
Goldberg,
we
like
just
Brock
said-
Lesnar, like Rousey to sell
You're
tickets.
naming all
instead of-
all their stars that are
And
on the
guess
sides
what?
of the trucks.
And guess what?
we're-
They've been doing it how long now? For the last couple years. And it just
40
keeps
years,
declining.
they've been using their
But
biggest
Tony,
stars.
it's not working anymore is the point.
But it's
dude.
not declining
That's the
from
point. It's
overall-
not,
How's it not
working
working
anymore.
How's it not
because
working
the
anymore?
product isn't good.
So in
Again,
this-
like I
in
said,
this-
if your argument is the product is good and fine, then there's nothing to argue.
Hold on a second, but that
There's
but
nothing
hold
to
on a second.
argue.
If it's not fine,
but it's not
then-
working.
I heard
But here's what-
Undertaker's best appearance. I heard
I didn't
tag-
say best appearance. He said best choke slam.
Sure.
And if you,
Yeah, but
if
it's
you
on
judge
a-
by
it's
that
on a
one
Monday Night
move,
Raw.
and also
It's on
Eddie's
a-
on your team.
Anyway, it's on a Undertaker on a Monday Night Raw. I heard the tag team division has changed overnight.
that's what I said. Yeah.
Ricochet is now the United States.
Everybody's
So
happy
here's-
about Ricochet.
Here's my thought: is if we are seeing an overall uplift in the product this last couple weeks, the idea that we do have some matches and some people that we're excited about.
That's not what I said.
So
I said-
but I'm with Tony. We all
yeah.
agreed that things were going fairly well. That it's in a good direction.
I think it
Then
went-
the Undertaker simply brings eyes to the thing that then you're like, you're right. You're not going to see Undertaker every week,
Right.
but oh my God, this Ricochet guy is amazing.
But
Oh
can
my
you
God,
imagine
like,
if you have
Joe
legit,
is a killer?
Can you imagine if you had legit stories to use Ricochet as champion in?
But I'm also
How much
I
more
don't
of a
think
push
that
you
the
can get with
Undertaker's
Ricochet?
appearance is this overall
We're not
fix.
gonna
I think it
push
is one
some-
thing in a long line of things that one
Like
might
if you had
do.
legit stories.
We all
a
love-
legit storyline for Kofi, for example.
Agreed,
Kofi
but they're
could
also
be even
separate
bigger.
issues. Those are separate issues. The Undertaker can make an appearance and have it be awesome while they're also having an issue with developing long-term stories. Those aren't mutually exclusive. They still need to develop those stories, but that doesn't mean don't bring the Undertaker in for an awesome
I have
appearance.
to, I have to
get
go,
that.
so I'm going to say one last thing. Undertaker is better than no Undertaker. Yes,
Not
the
always.
Undertaker can't go as hard as he used to go, guys. I mean, real breakthrough stuff you guys are spitting on this show.
But
Wow,
you're-
he can't go
So bring him back
so
the answer?
hard. He can evolve. And three,
Okay.
You guys aren't the Undertaker's health advisors, and neither is anybody listening or anybody on the internet. If the Undertaker wanted to retire, he would fucking retire.
But
I gotta
he
go.
did
Have a good
retire.
night, everybody. He did not.
That's the whole
clearly
point. He
didn't
did.
retire.
He did.
Wasn't Tony
Clearly
the one
didn't
said
retire if
when
he's still
Undertaker
working.
was dripping liquid out of his nose
That was
he
you,
should
Tony,
never
for
wrestle
sure.
again
That was for sure you.
during that WrestleMania?
We literally watched him have an oil leak out
Yeah.
of his face.
And the problem is that it's like, dog, again, it's the decision making is in the same vein of what's making the product decline. It's not like, okay, let's figure out something new. It's, well, what's worked in the past? Let's just do it again. That's essentially
So what would
the
be
problem.
so two things? One, then go watch your wonderful AEW, which isn't letting
Which
John
people
Moxley
are.
wrestle in
But
G1.
the thing
people
is,
are.
But
like,
on the other side, what to you is the fix? Because I hear some.
I've
I
said
hear
it
the complaining
repeatedly on this show. It's
So, like,
a
right now, what-
cocktail of things. It's a cocktail of things, right?
And what you and
it's not gonna
genuinely-
happen overnight.
Genuinely, you see the idea of bringing the Undertaker in for one show
Yeah.
as detrimental to those things.
I
Because
do.
I see that as a
I
help
I
to
hear
those.
what you're saying.
I see it not making a step towards creating a legit storyline.
Yes.
I see that as them using the attraction of Undertaker
to draw more
draw-
eyes to the
draw
things you're
more-
working
no,
on.
but the issue is that they're not working on anything
Right.
of longevity.
Exactly.
Everything
So then, in that
everything they're
instance,
walking
the
in-
Undertaker's appearance shouldn't fucking matter to you guys. Because what you're
But it
saying
doesn't-
is
it doesn't
it's
Eddie,
so
you can't have it
shitty.
both ways, man. Like, either it's going to help it or it doesn't matter.
But,
it's like,
no,
that just
from
means
your
that you're
point of-
right. And
no,
it's like,
from
no,
your point of view,
you're
it
not
doesn't
right.
matter because what you're saying is they're not doing the thing anyway. So why not bring him the fuck in and watch him
It's
wrestle? a
because
match?
cool.
it's
It's
not-
cool to see
yeah.
him, but
Yeah.
it's better if you had him in something that you know that.
So
Okay,
in-
after
Means something.
For example, after Undertaker showed up for this match, do they have a plan for Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns
Maybe.
and all those guys? I don't know. I don't think they have a long-term plan until the next pay-per-view after Extreme Rules.
Yeah, they've used
So
up.
then,
They
if
only
that's
view
the
it
case,
a
if
month-
what you're telling me
their
is they
long-term
don't
planning
have
is
any
1 month.
plan, then why is it worse to you that he shows up? Because if he doesn't show up, they still don't have a plan.
Because
but now
the
we
same
at
old
least
shit
get,
doesn't ever help. It never helps.
But to me, this
you just
isn't
want to
this-
see Undertaker for Undertaker's sake?
First
Never
off,
should be that.
off, this isn't
Yeah.
the same old shit.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. The Undertaker has appeared at WrestleManias only. This is his first
Super
match
Showdown?
outside of it. And look, but we also say those don't count, right?
But they do it for the same reason, to pop
Except,
the
hold on a
viewership.
sec.
No?
His appearances on those shows,
Same reason.
those appearances on those shows
Yeah.
are in no way relatable to him showing up on an actual pay-per-view in storyline on Monday night, wrestling
hear
a
you.
match outside of
But
these
see what
weird
you just
Legends
said?
matches.
See what you just said? In storyline, what's the story? He's just there? Because what? What's his beef with Shane? Nothing.
Maybe we find
Undertaker
out next week.
Roman
why you
Reigns
got-
is the one who retired him.
You're
quote
the one
unquote.
who's criticizing. Maybe they have
No,
the story to fill in
And-
next
and
week.
For example, Eddie's like, "Oh, you guys can go and just watch AEW." For me, AEW still has to prove themselves. Once they get a TV show, they have to prove themselves because all we know is the individual matches that we saw.
Yeah.
And we saw some storytelling in the match that we enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
They
but they
built
still
a-
have to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And WWE has the money. They have the wrestler. They have the best roster they ever had.
Yeah,
I
it's
think ever.
insane the talent they have. Insane. And
What
and
they
you-
need, and they just
What's insane is the idea that you guys are so against this Undertaker
But
match.
it's-
Like
it-
this
no,
is the
it's-
best.
I'm not,
Eddie,
I'm
it's
not
not
against,
that.
it's not against
It's about the
Undertaker.
idea
I
behind
just
it.
don't
is my problem.
beyond this one match. I don't see the purpose of bringing them back. I would rather have a legit feud between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre with a legit story,
yeah. Like,
and
look,
not have to use
like it's a difference between when Ric Flair was having his outro storyline. The whole thing is he has to win or he's going to be retired.
Yeah.
That's a story, and that's making me excited every time he shows up. Undertaker just randomly showing up to save the guy who beat him at WrestleMania and showed up the next night talking about, it's my yard now. What does that do for me? That is nothing. It's nothingness.
So
It's
in
just
that vein, if
Undertaker
Monday
for
night he comes
Undertaker's
out again
sake.
and he cuts a promo and explains why he showed up, that's no good for you?
Sure, but it's like, dog, you really, at this point, the WWE has not earned my equity that way. They have destroyed everyone's trust in all of their long-term storyline. And you can't argue any
you
differently.
started today's podcast saying that there is a bias that anytime WWE does something, it's shit, and AEW does something, and it's wonderful.
I
and in
said,
this instance,
no, that's not what I
no.
said. I said that anytime WWE does anything to protect their business, people get fucking
Yeah.
irate about it and have double standards. if it's shitty, it's still shitty.
This is not shitty. This is
But
not
I
shitty.
get it. You like
Where do
The
you stand on it?
Undertaker.
Because I'm interested to hear like.
Yeah. I get
Because
that you like
genuinely,
The
I
Undertaker.
get it. I get it if we're all against the Undertaker, but it blows my like
it's
the
not
Undertaker
against the
showed up.
Undertaker.
You're
we
arguing
just-
against the wrong point. I don't.
Yeah.
Of course, it's cool to see the
No,
Undertaker.
then you're arguing against the
No,
wrong
I'm
point
not.
because what you're arguing
No.
is the concept of him showing up takes
Yes.
away from the other stories.
100%.
But they're already, in
they-
your view, they're already fucking those things up.
Right.
So in this instance, they're not correcting that thing.
But
as far as you're
Right.
concerned, right? So why not at least get this story that we're going to get?
But there isn't a story. It's just
yes, there is. It's a
pay-per-views
fucking
in like 2 weeks.
Why is the Undertaker protecting Roman Reigns?
because he had a feud with Shane and he hates that Shane is taking over the fucking. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, of course you don't know.
That's
Because
the
they
issue.
haven't told the story.
But
Give them
that's the
fucking chance. You
fucking
guys are
issue.
children.
But you want me
Let
to
them tell the story.
but
you
you
want a
keep-
story, but this is the entire issue. This is the entire issue that, and I think Chris and I will agree on this, is that they have 2 weeks to tell a story. When we're asking is to have a story that takes a couple of weeks, like a month, to develop a story, not 2 weeks, where every story
Yeah,
is
Eddie,
just
the
done and okay, we gotta write these stories for the next pay-per-view. This is the entire issue, and I've argued this before on this podcast. There's too many goddamn pay-per-views,
Yeah.
so you can't have any legit long-term booking.
I do want to hear what Matt has to say before we continue any of this.
I'm just like, we just need to bring back Paul Bearer to smooth this whole thing
He's
out.
dead.
What about
no,
Doink?
I think you both make points.
Yes, for sure.
I feel like this is going nowhere
Yeah.
as well.
Now, you wouldn't be talking like this if it was American Badass Undertaker.
Gross.
You're right. This is going nowhere. You got
I
it.
probably wouldn't be as excited if he
I'll
rode a
say that.
motorcycle.
And me,
out.
my personal opinion, I don't think WWE is doing well. That's why they're grabbing the Undertaker. I do
100%
believe
is why.
in that.
Yeah.
Now, but I think that, and this is something I heard Triple H say on Tim Ferriss's podcast years ago, what wrestling fans that critique any wrestling, especially WWE, what you don't get is that it's always an arc. It's like, if you don't like it, now wait. Yes, like, odds are it's not going to go the way you like it, but there's so many different arcs. This one, I think we ought to. Taker's doing this thing. It's an attraction. That's cool. We get our Taker back.
Right.
He's not going to have a one-on-one match. He's going to be very protected.
Right.
I like what Tony said about Taker evolving. Like, he has. Now he's like this old cowboy that comes around, and I don't
mind that, but you still got to the bell still got to ring.
Yeah,
you still
and the
got to
bell-
do stuff.
And he will. I mean, a hot tag is all we're asking for here.
Yeah.
Right, my man. But then it's like
Get a choke slam in there.
But
maybe
then
a
it's like,
tombstone.
but if that's all you're in pro wrestling for, if you just like you're stuck in the 90s and like you just have to see the Undertaker, that's fine.
Sure.
I'm about 2019.
Right.
The Undertaker cannot wrestle anymore.
Okay, but I'm also
He's
saying
not good.
I'm also
He's not good
saying
anymore.
this is
I'm sorry.
this is an afterthought pay-per-view in a bad time of the year for any storytelling.
Sure.
Why don't we just bring in some big guns? We have so many other stories to be excited
But
about.
it's
No, we
not a
don't.
bad time for storytelling.
Right.
It would be great storytelling if they had long-term booking. The problem is they only book from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
And
I
that's
get
the
that.
problem. If they
But
long-term
Imagine
book,
if it went down this way.
This would be a
Imagine
great
if
pay-per-view.
if this week they did the beat down on Roman and Shane got on the mic and started talking shit about how I'm the best in the world. I just beat down the dude who beat down the Undertaker. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? He's going off and his mouth gets him in trouble. Him mentioning the Undertaker is what gets the Undertaker involved.
like a Beetlejuice reference,
Like
but he said it 3 times.
Maybe even. But you know what I'm saying? It's like he's going off on this rant about how I'm best in the world. I'm better than Roman Reigns. I'm better than the guy who's been the 3-time world champion. I'm better than the guy who retired the Undertaker. That means I'm better than the Undertaker. He's like totally lost his mind. Then next week, Undertaker shows up.
Yeah.
Now you've built something, and now there's something to be like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought he was just mentioning the Undertaker to talk shit.
Yeah.
And now here it is. Now you've built a story.
And you could have done exactly what they did with the 2-on-1 handicap match, but you had that on the previous week.
Exactly.
Do you think that
That's all I'm
maybe
saying. Build a
and
story.
more than
and
one
this
week.
is kind of
book.
when I'm looking at the bright side of horrible WWE booking, I think I tend to grade on this curve that that the WWE set for years of doing bad storytelling and making poor choices. That it's like there's like this it's good for WWE clause. You think that maybe
the lowered expectations clause.
I think two things to that point. One, I personally am very hesitant to analyze and not even criticize, but meaning like I don't watch wrestling and think of the writing behind it. I try to watch it more as like
for the referee,
naturally, right? I'm just like, what's the ref doing? No, but you know what I mean.
You have
because I think
posters of refs on your.
I mean, Earl Hebner's number one.
But I feel.
But I think the idea being that like we oftentimes as wrestling fans get so caught up in the writing that we just don't sit back and watch the story because we're worried about how Roman is being presented and worried about this. And so in that vein, I'm very unlikely to look at the writing and get overly critical of the writing. Because as somebody who makes shows as well, I understand how fucking intense it is to get to this place. It's so easy for people to get to this place and edit the writing. Look, you just told a much better story than they did.
That's all I'm looking for.
But the 19 steps to get to where they did may not have afforded them that. And in that vein, do I grade on a curve? I have always said I think that our childhood years of watching WWE shade us to think it was better than it was. So then when we're older and it's not that same way, we're the thing that changed it,
Let
not
me ask
them.
you this. Do you think it's always, then in that vein, do you think it's always been this shitty and we were just dumb kids?
I think that there have been periods where overall things were better, but there are main event stories that we latch on to that overshadow mid-cards that aren't as good. So I think that Hogan and Macho Man was so good, we overlook some of the mid-card stuff that wasn't nearly as good.
But I bet
and then when we go to Brett and Shawn and that era, where like they were so good and Shawn and Brett are so good in the ring, we forget that Aldo Montoya was walking around with a jockstrap on his head. And in the Attitude Era, we love Stone Cold and The Rock and Mankind and Triple H so much
time
that
Ahmed
we forget.
Johnson had elbow pads.
Do you know what I
on
mean?
his
Like
forearms.
that's where I think it does get a little convoluted because at the core of it, if the main event is really good, we tend to remember that main event period, and the rest of it goes.
But I would.
It wasn't. You don't remember
to
just the
censor
main
suck.
event,
Right.
though.
I would argue against that all day long
I
because
will,
what's
too.
different is
Yeah,
back then.
but you're not excited to see The Undertaker, so.
But back then they at least everything was about the build. Everything was about the build. That's classic pro wrestling is the build.
I would
AEW
say
was
yes
able
and
to
no.
build a feud between Dustin and Cody into one of the most meaningful matches, probably the match of the year so far, in 2 weeks, in like 3 weeks, versus the WWE.
So you're giving
wait,
giving them 3 weeks, but you won't give The Undertaker
No.
2 weeks?
Listen to what I'm saying to you.
Go ahead.
They built a story, right, around these guys with just a promo before they ever got next to each other, with an internet promo and some shit talking over fucking Twitter and a
the
press
fact
conference.
that they're brothers.
And
That-
a press
let's
conference.
not throw that out.
WWE had them and tried to, and before they could pull the trigger, they just said fuck it and didn't even do the story. They didn't think it was worth it. Okay? That's what we're dealing
But
with.
what's the comparison? I don't understand
What I'm
the point
saying
you're trying
is
to make there.
it's a mindset. The WWE doesn't know how to tell stories anymore. They couldn't find a story between Dustin and Cody, yet AEW was able to do it in 3 weeks? Come on,
we
G.
all sat here and admitted, though, that had they not failed at the WWE storyline, their AEW storyline is not the same.
No.
That they got the advantage in AEW of having a different play.
But they didn't use
it's not
that.
in a vacuum.
They didn't use that to tell the
But
story.
you can't.
They didn't
you
use that.
can't
They
look
didn't
at
have
it
the
in a
main-
vacuum.
They, in fact, they went away from it because
But you
Cody
can't
went
look-
on.
You cannot look at it in a vacuum, and that's what you
I'm-
are doing.
I'm
just
not.
to compare.
I'm not looking at it in a vacuum. You had the same context. They're both brothers. They're both have the shadow of Dusty Rhodes hanging over them. One guy's been in it forever. This guy's the golden child. That dynamic existed in
Wait,
both.
which one's which?
You know what it is.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
they have
and
the
you could-
dynamic in both.
And you could also do that almost that same storyline with Shane McMahon, always being under the shadow of his dad.
Yeah.
You could actually book Shane
That's
in
his
a
entire
legit.
career. I mean, like
Yeah,
every time
all
Shane
I'm saying
steps,
to you is-
steps out, that's
all I'm
what
saying
that's
to
the
you is-
storyline.
But you talk about you don't watch wrestling because of the creative. You watch it because of the matches. The problem is the product has no matches.
No. What
Raw-
I said
Raw
was
and
I don't
SmackDown
watch
have
it
no matches.
thinking of the writing. So when I'm watching Roman Reigns, I'm not going to be the person who boos him because Because this is what happens, right? Like right now, Lacey Evans is getting booed, or Baron Corbin is getting booed because of the situation they're being put. Baron Corbin is not terrible.
He's terrible.
The character that they've written for him is terrible.
No,
he's
not,
executing.
he's always
well.
He's
been a
not
bad
good in
wrestler.
the ring. He's not. He's boring as fuck. He's so boring.
Really?
You think he's an exciting wrestler?
I think that he is that upper mid card
That's not what I asked
heel along the lines of Big Boss Man.
I understand.
Like
but
I
Boss
compare
Man
him
had
to Boss
heat,
Man and Kane
but Boss Man had heat.
because they
Because
they wrote them better. So here's the difference. I look at the performer different from the creative they're being given, and I tend to shy away from being overly critical in terms of analyzing
Look,
the writing.
I hear what
But
you're saying.
you have to get to the point where you have to be critical if that character that they're
no, that's
writing
Marcus.
is all
you're
you
being
giving.
Marcus. You're
No,
pretending
no,
you're a smart mark
no.
by looking at the
No,
writing.
Eddie.
Yes.
But if they only give you this version of Baron Corbin, they've been giving us this version of Baron Corbin for a couple years. This is all you have. So you have to fucking
if you're
judge
asking
him.
me, do
you
I
have
think
to
he is
judge
a credible heavyweight champion contender? No, he's the heel that is put in the way on the way to
Who
the
do
next
you
one.
know that's like,
Hogan-
I can't wait to see Baron Corbin wrestle?
Hogan wrestled
Besides
Boss
Johnny.
Man on a Saturday night's main event,
And people
these
couldn't
in
wait to see
between-
that match.
These in-between pay-per-views are essentially trumped up Saturday night main events. If you looked at how the WWE has operated for years,
Right.
the Big Four are still the Big Four. They have too much television. We all know that. But with what they have,
But Eddie-
they are putting out the absolute
Eddie,
best
it's
that
20
this team can do,
It's
clearly.
2019.
Yeah?
You know what I'm saying? When they
Chris,
people
book-
got tired of Hulk Hogan in
book this
'93,
much,
right?
Book this much television. It's not. I
Look,
don't think it's possible with what they have to actually book the
is
way
it
you
our
want it.
responsibility as an audience to be like, oh, your job is hard?
No, but
You know what I mean?
What you're
No,
doing
it's
is you
not.
constantly
It's not
tell
our-
them how they can do their job better. That's your entire
but-
platform every week when we sit on this podcast. Is you guys telling the writers how you're better than
Eddie,
them?
in 20
neither
seconds,
one
I
of
wrote
you-
a better story. In
But-
20 seconds.
So put in your resume and go work for them. Otherwise, sit and
But
watch
Eddie,
the fucking
but
show.
You're a
The
comedian.
Undertaker showed up.
Eddie, you're a comedian. You honestly, if the set is going well, blame the audience.
What do you mean?
Oh.
If
If the set isn't going well, you look at the audience and be like, you accept what I'm giving you and you adjust to me. That's what you're saying. By saying
No.
the WWE should be doing.
I
That we
think-
as WWE fans,
I
whatever
think
they
there are two
give us,
questions. One,
I should just be
absolutely.
like,
If
give
the-
it to me.
If a crowd is not receptive to something, nothing you do will work. And this, to me,
I've
is that
never blamed the
instance.
audience ever in my life.
No, what I'm saying right now is the WWE, not the WWE audience. You guys were not receptive to what WWE was going to do, so the Undertaker was never going to work for you. But if you are slightly receptive, then I think that the way that this played out was absolutely one of the best moves for this story they
But
would
the
have made.
WWE did that to us. It's not the audience didn't show up one day and be like, WWE sucks. That's not what happened. It was a bunch of storylines that made no sense, a bunch of storylines that went nowhere, a bunch of D pushes of wrestlers that the fans got behind. It was a bunch of constantly pushing their agenda on the fans that they made it very clear they didn't want to see. They've used up all their goodwill. It's like when Chappelle returned from his absence, right? And he had a few sets where he's going on for 2, 3, 4 hours. And then fans were excited at first. Then after a while, it was like, what is this shit? And then when he started doing specials and actually doing the thing, then they got back on his side. WWE is in that zone right now where they're just like, well, why don't we have goodwill? Look, it's The Undertaker. Look, it's Goldberg. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, but how many years now have you been giving me fucking horse shit and telling me to eat it and like it?
And I think like we attack creative so much because it's right now the product is you can't back like in the 90s during Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Rock, this is Stone Cold. They like, hey, this is what we're going towards, and The Rock and Stone Cold had the freedom to get to that point.
Yeah.
And by promo work, off the cuff, but now everything's so dialogue made beforehand that you have to just deliver that there's no individual freedom to make this storyline personal for you.
Look, I am 100% in
know?
agreement with a lot of things you guys are saying. This is a deeply flawed product. I absolutely, to Matt's point, grade this on a curve because my expectations of what they're going to deliver are not high, which is why when I come in here every week, what I do is bring the list of the things that I enjoyed as a fan. Like the Kofi Kingston, to me, is still on a run as a champion that I'm like, I love his work right now.
Dude,
that match was cool. Undertaker shows up. This is the exact way I'd want to see him on a Monday Night Raw, and it got me excited as a fan again.
I honestly honestly had every intention of saying the things I liked about WWE this week. It was just this Undertaker thing. I knew Tony was going to suck its dick, and I was just like, again, he didn't watch it, but so of course he's going to be like, well, the Undertaker was there. But
I loved that
Like the
hyperbole.
like
I
the
didn't watch it, but it was the greatest
The
thing he'd ever
5-year-old kid
seen.
in me loves seeing the Undertaker.
right.
I will always love seeing the Undertaker.
Yeah.
But the fact that a 33-year-old me realizes that, oh, the product is depending on current Undertaker
Yeah.
to draw assets to see, it's kind of sad.
Right.
Look,
it's
that man
sad.
wrestled at
And you
absolutely
can't
in
deny
concept.
that.
Wait, what?
You can't deny that. It's kind of sad that
Yes,
it's
but I
depend
don't
on
look-
It's sad. It's sad.
60-somewhat-year-old.
He was at
60-year-old
WrestleMania
Undertaker.
8.
It's to me, I don't look at it as sad though, because we always appreciate seeing people we enjoy.
Sometimes.
And to that vein,
But I don't want to see.
hold on.
I don't want to see Ric
Okay,
Flair
okay.
wrestle.
Remember
But
when
to
they
that
kept
vein,
bringing
so
in
when you
legends
can-
to
when
beat
you're
up Heath
saying that
Slater?
this is one of those things where they bring him in as a fix for this temporary. To me, it's like,
But it's not
so
a
what's
fix.
but that's what I'm saying. Hold on a second. Let me
Okay.
get through
Okay,
this, which
please.
is that
Sorry.
it's the idea of I don't see this as an overall anything. I just look at it as like, oh, we're going to get Undertaker in a way that we don't usually see him, because it's not one of the major shows. It's not the Saudi show. It's not WrestleMania. It's to me the perfect spot of like, oh, it's a tag match within a storyline that wasn't something that we were all highly invested in to begin with. It's not like this was the one that mattered and he's screwing it up. Like, oh, good, this is a very interesting way to use that character. And are there better ways? Absolutely. Is it a weird fix to say that things are down and they have to rely on him? All right, but if they didn't draw last month and we're like, draw, they do need to draw a gate. And if he pops a ticket gate, like, so be it. That's showbiz, baby.
But
You know what I mean?
like I said, I believe 2 weeks ago, I feel like this entire stomping ground, the promo work towards it was shortened because of the Saudi Arabia show.
Yeah.
It's
So
you know what it is? It's bringing your girl flowers when you cheated on her. It's like, all right, man, this is.
I get that.
It's like, okay, this doesn't fix it. It's just like here's a shiny thing to distract you, and I'm too
not
old
as
to be
hurt-
distracted.
I'm not as hurt by this product in general, though. That's where
I
I'm
know-
coming
I
from.
know you're
Like,
not.
In general,
Right.
I don't.
But the argument,
I don't take nearly as much offense as I
Right.
could for how poorly the
Sure.
presentation
But when
is,
I
and I
come in
admit that
here
that's
every
me
week-
grading on the curve, like Matt said, which
Right.
is fair because I
Right.
just am like,
But when I come in here every week, my job to spark these debates is to say, well, look, we have our opinions, but ultimately the audience at large is going to decide the fate of this thing. And the audience at large does not fuck with what's going on in WWE. AEW can't be successful in a super successful era of WWE. It can't. If AEW launches in the Attitude Era, it's dead in the water. Dead.
or you
And
might
that's
catch a wave. Like things are up. If business in general is up,
But
you might catch the wave.
would think so, right? It's like PWG and all these things, they didn't start getting hot until WWE was on its decline. And it's like, you know, and as a bald person, you might be able to understand this. What I feel like WWE does a lot of times is like, you know, if they sprout a few hairs on their bald head, they're like, look at all the hairs.
got a
And it's
full
like,
head of hair.
you're still bald, motherfucker. I still see it. You know what I mean?
Propecia wrestling.
And,
Right.
And I feel like I'm not sure if you would agree with me. We're not on AEW's dick. I'm excited about.
Yeah,
because-
WWE. I mean, AEW got to show me
yeah,
too.
because what I think Fyter Fest this weekend is, it's basically a test television episode.
yeah.
This is a test of what they can do as a TV show. You know, and I think it's going to be pretty fucking bad. Honestly,
I'll
I think
be-
Fyter Fest will be pretty bad
don't
because
know.
I think they're working because they still have a lot of stuff they have to work out for a live show.
But see, AEW, see, they have the goodwill, though, where I'm like, well, I can wait and see what's going to happen.
And I
WWE
get that.
just keeps hurting me.
Because
Look
I
at-
think it is completely
you know
fair
what I
to
mean?
look at the idea that I am much more forgiving of some of the sins, which also on the other side you don't have that goodwill built in. So when they do something like this, you're still going to be
Well,
just.
'cause I-
and that's a fair. I completely understand why you see it that
but
way.
it's not even that necessarily. It's I want them to succeed.
Yeah.
Because when WWE is at its best, it is the best. For
I-
sure.
I
was
genuinely
I
believe-
was
yeah.
at Double or Nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is cool, but fuck, was Royal Rumble so much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like WWE at their height, you cannot fuck with it. It just period.
I
Like,
think in
AEW
general
was
we
great.
we
sorry.
are in this down period, and
Yeah.
that's why I think I am more forgiving of it because I recognize like you lost Cena, CM Punk was supposed to be here right now. Like that's the other
But
thing
they
we
did that to
forget.
themselves, and that's what
Absolutely.
that's what always gets me. They
Absolutely.
They shoot
Although I
themselves
will
in the
tell
foot.
you, I don't think that's solely on WWE. I think that's also a human being who was never going to be able to work within that system.
Well-
And Cena broke the system where he made it seem like, oh, you really can do all these things they're
But
asking.
we'll look at Becky Lynch.
In that vein, Cena, when you lose a star like Cena and you have and the guy who was going to be there to be the superstar after him didn't make it, they were literally left with nothing, and so all of it kind of tanked. And just to me is like they tried to push Roman, it didn't catch. Brock is still around, but not in the right way. So all of those things being said, I'm like, the product is probably going to be bad. So when they throw me a bone, like the Undertaker in the spot that I'd want him in,
I think
I'm
we
like, all right,
understand.
here's something.
Look,
I'm excited.
contextually, I sympathize with their situation, but Vince McMahon, like, blaming, like, oh, the superstars are, like, hurt or whatever, they got to go do this thing. It's like, yeah, man, but, what happened when the fans got behind Rusev? You buried him. What happened when the fans got behind Nakamura? You buried him. What happened when the fans got behind, there's a list of those people. And like, it's like now we're going to pull the trigger on this Nakamura Finn Balor thing. And it's like, yeah, that'd be cool if Nakamura didn't look like a loser for the past year and a half. That fucker won the Royal Rumble. Does anyone even remember that?
And
They've botched plenty. There's no questions. Like,
and they'll reinvent people. They reinvented Bobby Roode a month ago. Robert Roode grew the mustache. He didn't even have the mustache anymore. And he's not even on TV. It's like, what the fuck was that for?
And be like,
we
should have creative, but like, Royal Rumble 2 years ago was fucking amazing. The one in Philly was one of the best fucking pay-per-views.
We had so much fun.
So we know they can fucking do it.
Yes.
But we keep seeing them make the same goddamn mistakes over and over and over again. And you can see what the mistake is. And it's a lack of fucking long-term booking.
You know what's going to save it? This lesbian storyline that they tease between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
Oh.
I cannot wait for the pregnancy angle that comes out of this one.
Trust them.
Wait. Sonya Deville and
Sonya
Why
Deville
is that a lesbian?
defeated
Sonya Deville's an out lesbian.
Yeah, they call her the Pride Fighter. That's why they call her the Pride Fighter.
Yeah, she's
no. I thought she was a man.
No, stupid. That's why she had the rainbow. She had the rainbow bandana in her back pocket during her match against Ember Moon. She wins the match.
Wait, what's her name? Gay?
Mandy? No, I don't know.
That's what they're going to
supposedly.
tease, I think?
That's what they're teasing. Because afterwards...
All right, you're going to be a hot lesbian.
You're going to be the dyking experience.
You think he hasn't said that in a meeting?
But that's why I don't trust them. They have no nuance. Everything's right on the head.
I say you
100%.
just make her like the Godfather.
Yeah.
And just welcome to the Dyke Train. Just a bunch of...
Oh, the dyking experience is the funniest thing I've ever said.
That's pretty funny.
That's a T-shirt. We need to start selling. Storehorseman.com.
Where do you go from there? Honestly, Bray Wyatt, the puppets are showing up backstage.
I was wondering like, why the fuck isn't a Firefly?
Because you
But
saw.
here's apparently
what
the
I'm gonna-
puppets like, oh, that's
because
great.
I think there's a high likelihood they're going to screw up this Bray Wyatt. I'm fully look.
I know.
Here's the
That's what I'm saying,
I'm
Eddie.
fully on board with you guys.
I don't trust them.
I fully see everything that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I just choose to pretend I'm a kid. And I think they're going to screw. That being said, I go back to the Seinfeld line. When Seinfeld talks about advertising, he's like, I love when they lie to me with advertisements because I'm happy.
Sure.
I'm happy when I see the commercial, and then I go to the store and I'm happy before I buy it. And when I get the thing I buy, and then when I get home and it doesn't work, then I'm upset. But I was happy on the way. At least I had some happiness. This some happiness is better than none.
Hey,
So
But
man.
the good thing about the puppets being seen is it feel like it's one step closer to actually Bray being in the goddamn ring.
Exactly.
And that's what I think we all want.
Totally. Other than that, somebody finally knocked on the door for Aleister Black. Supposedly it's going to be Cesaro that he faces at Extreme Rules, which
That's
is
a good
actually
one.
a good
That
choice.
Cesaro was injured, I thought.
No, he's good. That's Sheamus who's injured.
Oh, by the way, can we talk about the shitty fucking boyfriend-girlfriend angle that I fucking hate?
Sure.
Becky Lynch,
You gotta take
Seth
off, Matt?
Rollins.
I do, but I mean,
You can
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
well, Horsemen fans, black guys, I got a show. I'm also a stand-up comedian.
By the way,
I'm
you
gonna
also
make sure I
stand.
don't book myself Wednesdays usually. That was a flaw. I fucked up. Next week I'll go the distance. And you guys, this is wrestling, okay?
Yeah.
You guys
Why do you have
don't-
to stand up?
By the way, you
God damn it, I want to say something.
This is a weird
Matt,
power
Matt,
move.
you do realize the camera doesn't pick up your head because you're standing.
Oh my
so
God.
you kind of have to sit down for them to see you.
So, can you see me?
Yes.
Anyways, guys, get along. It doesn't matter what the Undertaker's doing. He doesn't care as much as you do.
100%. All right. 100% he doesn't.
He does. He only cares about the
If he
paycheck.
listened to this, he'd be like, these fucking dweebs.
Look, and that's what we're here. I mean, look, we're all
The only
fucking.
thing you guys were right about was the leak in my nose.
You're right. I'm cashing a paycheck.
Oh
You
man,
guys.
love you too,
I
brother.
love you.
But
you finally saved
speaking
me
of
on your
love, love is in the air between Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. They decided to bring it to camera and made it look like they're just friends, even though they've hinted that they're in a relationship many times now. Like, who saves someone at a pay-per-view? You embrace and you don't kiss. What the fuck was that? That was the weirdest thing.
It sounds like something Meyerowitz would do.
Yeah, he hugged her like she was the homie.
That's definitely. It definitely looks like they've been dating for 3 years and it's kind of cooled off.
Yeah,
And they're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
hey,
They're
good
about
to
to
see
break
you
up."
here. Anyway, I was in the middle of something, so I'm going to finish this up and we'll catch up afterwards.
And it's like, man, you know,
Randy and Liz.
if Stomping Ground, honestly, honestly, if Lacey Evans had some real heat, the move to make her the referee would have been brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole point with WWE is they don't read the room. It's like, damn, this isn't working. We'll just keep pushing it forward. And it's like, I understand what Matt said, that, look, just let us tell the story. You don't know where it might go. You don't know. Give us a chance. But like I said, you gotta build up that trust.
Mm-hmm.
And when stuff isn't working to the degree that certain things don't work, you got to make the left turn.
And we gave this Lacey Evans thing a chance.
Yeah.
It's been going on for 3 months.
Tony
probably.
kept.
So-
You wait. Once she fucking debuts, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. It's been downhill ever since.
And you
she
coulda-
did. She had a few moments where she looked good. I think the Royal Rumble for her looked good, and then she had a decent match the first time, and it has been slight diminishing
But
returns
what did I
on
say?
it.
It's like you can't. Someone who made zero impact in NXT, you
Yeah.
can't debut them and then put them in the main event.
And it was also the absolute wrong time and way where Becky was coming off so hot to give her this.
100%.
But
100%.
they also, that's what I mean, is there's also a history of champions winning a title and then getting really weird opponents. Now, like Stone
agree.
Cold won. His first opponent was Kane, and there wasn't so much. And he had
At
like
least he was connected
Dude
to
Love, and like
McMahon.
there were just these weird. There are times, Seth Rollins' first run with the title had the same issue where he won it, and then his challenger, even as a heel, he didn't have someone. So there are moments like that, and it sucks to have to watch because especially when you come off so
That
hot.
I will agree with. And when I look back in the old wrestling, when you try to think of who that next opponent was after the big WrestleMania match, you're like, wait, who the fuck? Like, who did Macho Man fight after WrestleMania 5? Like, who was the first title defense? It should have been a big deal, but who
and those
fucking
real
knows?
good feuds do take some time to get to.
Yeah.
Not just to build their own story, but like you knew coming out of WrestleMania, people like Seth and Kofi and Becky were all going to have to look strong for a little while.
Yeah.
So you don't go right into their hottest possible program. You give them a tomato can.
Yeah.
And in this instance, they just gave him some tomato can. Because, for instance, I think everything Kofi's done since WrestleMania has been a lot of fun, right?
Totally.
The Kevin Owens
totally.
feud, the Dolph Ziggler, now he's got Joe.
He is so much better as WWE champion than I would have ever thought
Yeah.
Kofi Kingston, for sure.
But then on the other side, there are Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans are not nearly as exciting as you want them to be.
And-
Charlotte's not in the picture. Bailey's been sort of up and down with what she's had, and her and Alexa Bliss just seem to have no chemistry, which sucks because on their own, they're two of my favorite wrestlers. Like, I love Alexa Bliss, even if you were to tell me she's slightly limited in the ring. I think what she does as a character.
But then look at the Nikki Cross stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you add that in there. None of it makes any sense. They haven't defined Nikki's character on the main roster at all. She's like normal outside the ring, then she's crazy in the ring.
Yeah.
She horribly botched the run-in interference at Stomping Ground where it was like, Alexa clearly has a clear path to do her finisher. You run in and grab Bailey's leg for no reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I was mad. She hit me with a dive. It's like,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of the ring.
And
This is the product of doing 7 hours of television every week, where you get to the thing, you're like, oh, we got to rehearse that thing. Let's get to the ring, and three guys are in front of you, and you're like, oh, can we go over our spot?
Yeah, they got a hard job.
And
man.
I think, I appreciate creative taking chances with like this Lacey Evans thing, but because best case situation is that you can push Lacey from a new person in the main roster to a mid card in the women's roster, and you can get other feuds from it.
Yeah,
I like taking that chance, but when that chance doesn't work, you have to be in a position where you can write her up and get her against someone else. Get her against a Nikki Cross.
Yeah.
Lacey Evans versus Nikki Cross, where they can still build each other up.
Sometimes when you go at
Away
the
from
king, you can hit a home run. When KO debuted and went straight for John Cena and beat John Cena, it's like that worked out. But also, KO is super seasoned by that point.
Another way to
And
look
this
at
is like
that.
Ricochet as well. They elevated Ricochet very quickly, but it worked.
And that match with AJ Styles on Monday night was not only an awesome match, but the finish helped everyone.
Yeah.
That's the good storytelling. You're like, okay, so now there's a real feud. Now AJ comes back and gets the win, but Ricochet doesn't look hurt by that win.
Yeah.
They have. It's almost like there is the remnants, like the Twilight, and every once in a while it pops back up. You're like, oh yeah, that can.
Where I hope that's going is that Gallows and Anderson get fed up with AJ fucking criticizing them, and they rejoin with Finn Balor, and it becomes a Balor AJ Bullet Club thing.
Yeah.
But again, what are they going to do?
I would love if we're projecting some ideas. I think right after Extreme Rules, I would love to see Asuka pop back up, and that be the build to SummerSlam. Like, you didn't beat me, I beat you. This is the back and
Asuka
forth.
and Kairi Sane have been on TV once since they became a tag team. I think.
I feel like that might be right. Pull her back for a second. We were gonna go there, but now for SummerSlam we're working to Becky and Asuka, so pull her back and give her a.
But like you said, they'll
probably screw it.
They're writing 5 hours of TV a week. That's not easy, I understand. But that's when you could use these tag teams to fill in a lot of that fucking time. That's why I like this week.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot of tag team matches.
A lot of 2 out of 3 falls.
The reason why...
because Vince McMahon has decided there's to be no more wrestling during commercial breaks.
That's not what...
Remember, we were at Monday Night Raw in LA.
That's the first time it happened.
They announced that the wrestlers were going to get a quick break. Remember? They announced to the live crowd.
I didn't know that.
We're going to reset the match.
We're going to reset, and they're going to have a quick break.
Because it was a limit.
We looked at each other like, quick break. What the fuck are you talking about?
Apparently, Vince wants it to be more like a sport. So, like, during a commercial break, you don't have guys playing basketball or football during the commercial break. And so that's his
So
view.
now it's all
that's
2
why
out of
it's
3
2 out of 3
falls, elimination matches. There's the interference that leads to a bigger tag team match.
Let me
it's like, my man, Vince, figure it out.
Hearing that Vince McMahon wants it to be more like a sport sounds like Vince heard someone like from Fox say we
that's exactly what it is. Someone at Fox.
We can be a sport. It's like, Vince, you've never once been a sport.
Ever. But you know what? We talk a lot of shit, and we come up with a lot of alternate ideas, and we talk about how tough it is to write an episode. One of the fans
talk about how difficult for me to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the fans tweeted at us and had an interesting idea. They said, "Why don't the Store Horsemen write an episode of Raw, and then we do it here on the podcast?" You guys in for something like that?
I'm definitely in. In that vein, we should just submit it. We're all writers. We should just
I think
we should just make a packet and submit.
I also think each of us should get a certain title. Like, you get the heavyweight title and whatnot, and then you write
some characters.
You write that storyline involving that title or the mid card. You write that and whatnot, so we could each have our individual piece and piece those pieces together.
Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on the Facebook. Let us know how you want this Store Horseman episode of Raw or year of storyline or whatever you want it to be. Let us know what you want it to look like. We'll deliberate and we'll give you something. How about that? But it will not be next week.
Yeah,
and I can't even tell you why.
You'd have to give us plenty of, because if we're going to set some rules in place, this would be like a bonus episode where we're going to
for sure
outside our regular thing.
We're going to have some time because next week
Tony
we're not
going to
do
write
it.
the perfect
next
Charlotte
week we're not
Flair
do
storyline.
There's a lot going on next week.
Yeah. You do not want to miss next week.
I can't tell you why, Pencil Nate Geeks. I'm really sorry.
Is this the kind of
but
thing
here's
they should
the thing,
set their alarm for and watch live?
If you miss next
definitely
week,
want to watch live.
If you miss next week, oh my god. I don't know what to tell you.
If you miss next week, You are the jabroni. I am not the jabroni, and you can go fuck yourself.
Absolutely. So
'Cause
there
you
it
do
is.
not want to miss.
They call that a tease. Eddie, where can they find you in the meantime, bro?
Follow me on Instagram at I am Eddie Firth. Follow at Historical Roast and at Fictional Roast. Shout out to the store sign guy who came by the roast of the
Nice.
Titanic with signs.
Yes.
One of them just said "fuck boats" in my apartment. A few of the other Store Horsemen fans came by. Thank you guys. We're gonna have another show here at the Comedy Store Tuesday, July 23rd at 10:30 p.m. We're taking the roast battle spot when they're in JFL. So come check us out. We're roasting Jimi Hendrix. We'll definitely run a contest for tickets again. And as always, check us out on Netflix, Historical Roast with Jeff Ross. Yeah, I really fucking faded on that one.
Josh?
At Josh Martin Comic on Instagram, Twitter, and watch next week's episode because I'll probably barely talk next week, which is good for you.
Dude, that's worth the price of admission right there. You can follow me at Chris_please. You can follow us at Store Horsemen on all the things social media-wise. Watch next week. Get excited. There's been hints all throughout this episode if you've been paying a close enough attention.
They
anyway,
have been hints.
Never forget, Store Horsemen are your hookup. Holla if you hear us.
I had so much fun with
That
I had so much fun with that.
What's he?
Because again, the best part is always the idea that Tony didn't see